Welcome to Straight Talk. Welcome to Straight Talk. Welcome to Straight Talk. Welcome to Straight Talk. Welcome to Straight Talk.
First African president of the United States of America. President Barack Obama.
Good to see you. I just want to say everybody back home, right back at you. We appreciate you. You always give us straight talk.
And welcome to Straight Talk. Who was that?
Okay, go ahead.
Today we're going to have some fun. We're going to talk about things that are of importance in our country, in our world, especially those things that affect Lisa GARDLEY.
Yeah.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi
How are you?
there. How are you, sir?
Good to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us what you are doing.
I am doing a lot. You found out about me through, you Say It Like It Is Blog Talk Radio show, co-hosting that, and the topic was married but living single. And I posted several questions in regards to that. I've also self-published a book titled I Want to Be Free. And I own a business titled The Relationship Experience, where we host relationship forums and discuss a variety of topics such as the one we're about to talk about tonight.
But can we talk about married but living single?
Yes.
Let's talk about that first.
Yes. The reason this came up was one of my sister friends and I were out and noticed that were a series of men in there that were married.
Mm-hmm.
Certain things were obvious, such as their wedding band imprint was on their finger, or I saw a gentleman who his wedding band was actually off his finger on another finger. And I said, you know, this seems like an epidemic of so many people that are married, but they're living single lives. And then talking to other women and men, finding out it is very true. So it's something that's going on every day, but it's being swept under the rug with so many other things that deal with marriage.
But what is it going on?
Well, it's
we're
the
talking
fact,
about African American people, right?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
absolutely. And what's going on is people are married, but they live separate lives. So they live together. They may share the finance in the household. They may split the partnerships in regards to the children, certain factors, but on the outside of the home, they're single, and they portray a single life. They go to parties, they go to clubs, they mingle, they greet, and their spouses are nowhere around. And if you ask them if they have a spouse, they say that they don't have one or that they're dating.
Now, you're talking about men and women, right?
Yes, both,
Okay.
men and women. But, of course, with me being a woman, I only know about the men aspect of things. So talking
You know
to...
about the women,
well,
your friends.
I haven't ran across any of my female friends that are married and living single. Now, if there are some out there, I'm sure, but I haven't met them.
Okay.
So the majority of the ones that I've met, even knowing...
Very discreet.
Yeah, well, they could, because a lot of this is discreet.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it is discreet. In the family eye and in the eyes of friends, it appears as if everything is okay. No one wants to say, well, my husband and I are sleeping in separate bedrooms, or he has his own life and I have my own life, because it's all about appearance. It's all about how we want our family and our friends to look at us and think of us. But we know that it happens, and it's a lot of this because there's men out there that this happens to, and women.
Mm-hmm. Well, just wanted to point out, in African culture, it's okay for a man to have more than one wife
Mm-hmm.
and a concubine.
Mm-hmm.
So you have 10 wives and 8 concubines, 18 women that he's with all total. Why? Do you know why?
No, I don't, and I think it's hogwash. Even though it's one of those things where it's history and that's something that we rely on, I always ask, if you don't want it done to you, you shouldn't do it. Now, I know that, and I've had this argument with several men who believe that it's okay for a man to have as many, he should have his wife, and it's okay for him to have a few women extra, and that's just the way it should be. Says who? Because it's something that has been done over time. And a lot of times, even, and I would say in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, a lot of the women knew that their husbands were cheating, but a lot of them weren't educated. They couldn't hold their own, so they stayed in marriages and held it together because they needed that man to provide. Where now we're in a different time where a lot of the women are the breadwinners, a lot of the women are educated, and they're really handling their business with such a fact that the man is not really needed except for certain things.
Oh.
So now with that being said, and because a woman has gained that level of independence, and it's not one of those where the man, I'm not trying to take away from the male role, but I'm a woman. If he wants to cheat, just say you want to cheat, and then let me decide if this is something I want to deal with. Because in my opinion, it's cheating. If I decided to marry you, I marry you and you alone. I don't marry you and everyone else you sleep with.
But isn't it kind of selfish?
How's it selfish? It's selfish for him.
Because for some reason, nature created more women than men.
Okay.
So if you got a man all to yourself, there's some women out there who are frustrated and need a man.
Okay.
And you don't want to share with your sisters.
No, why?
That's selfish, isn't it?
You can say it's selfish. I call it a lot of sense. I'm not sharing nothing but a loaf of bread and a cup of sugar.
but the man is going to be hounded by some of those free women.
That's true.
And he's going to get weak from time to time.
But
and you call it cheating.
Cheating is one way to look at it, but it's the same thing as a woman. I realize that the statistics shows that there are more single women than there are men. That's a fact. However, I also believe that just as the man is being pursued by 3 to 4 women, there are also women that are being pursued by 3 to 4 men. It's her choice if she decides to participate, talk to them, give a number, conversate, whatever it is up to her. But if you say that you're married, then you should be married to that individual.
And then all individuals should have the same freedom to do whatever, right?
If that's what they agree
to.
If that's what they agree to.
It doesn't make too much sense with the woman.
Why does it?
See, the African tradition was the king or some rich landowner had acres of land. If he had 10 women, he would have 10 kids a year.
Okay.
But one woman with 10 men could still only have one child.
That's true.
So they want to populate this land, so they get a lot of women. That's one aspect. I know another group of individuals who decided there are too many women who have been bamboozled by some no-good Nick, and they have 3 or 4 children that they're struggling with, trying to take care of them. Let's create a home atmosphere where everybody can be safe. Okay? So it's not about sex, it's about safety of the woman. They take, oftentimes, with this group, a wife will go out and find or be out and meet a young lady in this condition and bring her home and see if she can mate with the husband, see if she can be a companion to the family. Okay, and that family, those families are like super families where they got, say, 6 people, 5 wives, 1 husband. One stays home and takes care of all the children, takes care of the house, and the other 5 work and bring all the money home. See? So,
I don't agree.
Well, I mean, lots of us don't agree because I only know one group that's doing it, and it's only about 5,000 people in the group.
That's true.
So, look how many people there are in the world. So it's a lot of people who don't agree with it. But I saw it as something great that I wouldn't get involved in, but it's something great.
Okay. So when you think about that whole aspect of things, this one man is providing for all of these wives?
No, he's not providing.
He's just...
He provided a household. And the household is being taken care of by one woman, and the other 5 people, 4 women and the man, are bringing in cash. Because in one family like this, the husband, one of the wives was a CPA.
Okay.
One was a lawyer. And one was going to school to become a MD.
Okay.
So, No, they're not dummy women. But
so what was his purpose?
what was his purpose?
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand when you say what was his
But
purpose.
I'm saying if they're women and
They
they're
had-
educated and he's
I mean,
providing them a home, I'm not understanding.
No, they had
Because they sound like they're self-sufficient women.
They had children,
Mm-hmm.
but they liked the atmosphere. They liked what was going on, and they
Oh.
and they came in, brought their children in, knew the children would be taken care of by a loving parent. The child had 5 mothers.
Okay.
Okay, he called them all mama.
Mm.
Okay, and they all took care of him like they were his mother.
Okay.
That was the atmosphere. That's what they saw, and they liked. You know, my child is not with some stranger while I'm working.
Okay. Well, I mean, if that is something that exists, but at the same time, we're still talking about the ideal of married but living single, and I don't see how they're living single. It seems like they have an agreement together of
Right.
who's going to do what. In most cases, people that are married living single may not know that other spouse is actually living single, and if they come to some conclusions, a lot of what's going on there is not going on in their home.
I would say that's dangerous as well.
Yes,
especially in today's environment where AIDS and all other kind of diseases that you can't get rid of is available. So I would say, I think a person would be wise to have a monogamous relationship and have an agreement to that, and tell the mate, please, if you weaken, and believe me, the flesh is very weak.
Mm-hmm.
The flesh is so weak that you can cut it with a small knife.
That's true.
So therefore, make them agree on a stack of Bibles.
On the stack, they agreed on a stack of Bible on one
that
Bible.
You're going to use a condom.
Okay.
Okay. What do you think? I just want to pick your brain since you're talking about this sex thing and these married people. How do you stop the tide of teenage pregnancy?
How do you stop the tide of teenage?
How do you stem it? Yeah.
I would say it starts with education, and it starts with educating your children young.
Okay.
I believe that there is not enough of us who are really teaching our children, quote unquote, the birds and the bees, because again, our society has changed. When I grew up with my mom and my dad. My father worked, my mother stayed at home. My birds and bees conversation came from my father, not my mother. So that is who I went to when I was ready to have sex. That's who I talked to was my dad. But nowadays there's not that equal household.
How old were you then?
When my father had the conversation with me when I was 13, I went to my dad when I was 16.
Oh, so you went to him 16 and said, I'm ready.
Yes.
What did he say?
My dad said, okay. And then he said, can you wait? I said, I don't think so. And then he said, okay, let's go to the store. So we went to the store, and my dad and I purchased condoms. And that Saturday, we went to the doctor, and I was placed on birth control. And right now, I do not have children because of the conversation I had with my father.
Your father was very, very wise.
Yes. Yes.
You see, I was talking to a group. They call themselves the Society to Stem the Tide of Teenage Pregnancy.
Mm.
They started, they come into existence in the 1800s.
Okay.
Okay. And I said, well, that's a long time. What are you going to do? What are you doing now to stem the tide of teenage pregnancy? He said, well, the only thing we can do is advocate abstinence.
Oh, no.
I said, but that's not working. It hasn't worked in all these years. What else can you do? I said, give them a condom.
We had a show on the show that I previously co-hosted on this topic. At what age do you have this discussion? Because as we see, there's an increasing number of teenage pregnancies. And there were so many, and I'll say super Christians, that was like, you need to teach abstinence. And my question to them was, what age did you get pregnant? Because
I was 14 years old. That's why you have to teach my child. That's why you
but if you were 14 years old, you know that at some point there's a part of you that's very difficult to control, because the same thing that you went through at 14 is the same thing that they're going through at 14.
And they may go through it at 13.
Or maybe 9 now. You know what I'm saying? So It's our responsibility to sit our children down and to have the conversation with them, pull out books at the age of 5 and 6 and start telling them about the different parts of their bodies because they're already curious anyway. And then started teaching them, having conversations with them at the age appropriate so that they can understand. So as they begin to get older, then you can start teaching the whole idea of birth control, and this is what you do. Show them pictures. I'm raising my nephew, and he turns 19 tomorrow. We had the conversation when he was 13. I took him to the internet. I showed him pictures. We sat down. We had a conversation, just like my dad had with me. And when he was ready to have sex, he said, TT, I'm ready. And we went to the store just like my father did with me. And we got condoms. And I said, now this is another phase. Let's talk about disease. Let's talk about responsibility. Let's talk about your life. Because if you have a child by a young lady and this young lady wants this child, you are a father, which means there's another added responsibility to your life. It's no longer you, it's you and this child. And honestly, the child comes before you.
And your childhood is gone.
Exactly.
Well, what would you say to the statement when I told them about the condom? They said, you can't give those children permission to have sex. They're just babies. They're 15 years old, 14. I said, what would be your answer?
My statement is provide them condoms with knowledge. Don't give them, it's like passing someone a loaded gun and not educating them.
But they said this child is too young for that. They're too young to know anything about sex.
I totally disagree because we have Planned Parenthood. We have, if anyone wanted to look, it's all about just Google searching. And if you Google search, you'll find that there's so many young parents. We walk down the street on my drive here. I saw a young lady, had to be 17 or maybe 16, pregnant. You see it in the communities all the time. So the education has to come, not only pass them a condom, but sit down and talk to them. Talk to them about not only about safe sex, but talk to them about their life. Talk to them and let them know that once you have this child, your life is no longer your own. There's another sense of responsibility. The things that you love and enjoy now, that money has to be spent on your child. Have a realistic conversation. I don't know why adults feel that at 13, 14, or 15 that these babies don't understand. A lot of these children at these ages, because of what they're exposed to, they have more knowledge about sex than a lot of the adults. So we have to stop downplaying this and address this head on and have the conversation.
And my statement to them was, are you Christians? Yes, I'm a Christian. Then what are you calling God? What do you mean? Well, God made it so those children can have babies. You saying he made a mistake? You're saying they're too young, but he was the one who did it. He gave them that ability. He gave them that authority.
Right.
Now you're saying he made a mistake? No, God didn't make a mistake. I said, well, then give the kids a condom. Stop talking crazy about abstinence. Nobody's going to abstain from their, as you say, their hearts. I'll say their hearts.
But I mean, all we have to do, I believe, is just have a reality check with self.
Right.
Start with self. At what age did your body start saying, what age did you start screaming and just wanting to have sex? If we start looking at ourselves and say, you know what, this is how I was feeling, I know that this child is going through this too. If we started doing that and then sit down and don't be scared to have the conversation with them. And sometimes every child is not willing to go to their parents, so it's up to the parents to go to their child. And it's going to seem a little bit uncomfortable initially, but you've created a trust with them early on. So if there's anything that happened, they know that I can go to my mom. They know I can go to my dad. I know I can go to my uncle. I know that I can go to my aunt. It has to be someone that they can rely on. Because if we don't teach them, the streets are going to teach them.
Absolutely. Now, for deference of time, let's get into what you're doing. What would you like the public to know?
Well, as I mentioned, I have written a book titled I Want to Be Free. And this book came through me going through relationships, being married, partially living single toward the end of it, and just realizing that the problem is not with the people that I've dated. The problem started with self. And I had to reflect and mirror inward and to begin looking at my own flaws and mistakes to become better for me and then ultimately becoming better for someone else. Because of that, when I was in the process of typing and I had the transcript, I began to pass the transcript out to several women. And when they read it, they could identify with every aspect or some of the aspects. And I noticed that when I was going through my moments, I really didn't have anyone that I could really trust and talk to, because I felt if I told this person, my business will be in the street. If I told this person, they will judge me. But after talking to them, I decided we need to create a forum where women can really sit down and talk about what's on their mind, a non-judgmental atmosphere, someplace that they can feel safe, someplace where they don't have to worry about who says what. And that's how the business started, creating the relationship forums to do so. So that started in my home back in November 2010, and it has grown. So I had one of my male friends approach me. He's like, Lisa, you should do this for women and men because it will be a good idea if we can learn from each other. We have broken homes, broken relationships, broken marriages, and if we could just really talk things through and understand, it would be great. So that's when I started hosting the co-ed relationship forums with the men and women where we sit down and talk about whatever comes to mind. And I have a relationship forum coming up. The title of it is the name of my blog talk radio show that starts July 19th, which is He Say, She Say, Now What Do You Say? And it will be at Bronzeville Coffee House, 528 East 43rd Street. And the date is July 14th from 8 o'clock to 12 o'clock.